picking a good camera for social media can be somewhat of a overly daunting task. I mean, these are all the cameras just from Sony. There's a ton of them, they're almost identical, and they're super expensive. So my goal in this video is to simplify this decision matrix, save you some money, and get you the right camera. So the way I see it, there's really four main sectors here. Smartphones and the associated cameras on these devices. The Pocket 3, this is a category in and of itself, followed by action cameras. And then finally, the fourth category are those mirrorless cameras. And I'm just going to say right off the bat that I think the mirrorless camera is the worst for the average content creator. Now, I'm aware this is controversial, and lots of photography-based YouTube channels out there claim that you need a mirrorless camera to have the best quality videos. But I would urge you guys to remember that a lot of these experts, they already have a social media-based business that's based around pushing cameras. So if you're taking advice from a YouTube channel that only makes videos about mirrorless cameras and they're recommending that you buy a mirrorless camera, just be aware of what's going on there. Personally, I would only recommend one of these dedicated mirrorless cameras if you specifically need things like a huge zoom range or like a super shallow depth field, some kind of specific look that you might need this hardware to achieve. Otherwise, in my opinion, mirrorless cameras are essentially legacy technology. And increasingly, every year that goes by, the image quality from a quote-unquote real camera is less and less distinguishable from these other options. And I think the number one option here for most people looking to make content for social media, even potentially more professional applications, the smartphone is their best overall choice. So the hardware, the physical camera lenses themselves are getting pretty good, and most smartphones these days have multiple cameras, each with a different focal length. But the real advantage that smartphones have over mirrorless cameras is in terms of their processing power and their software. It seems like as time goes on, the hardware is becoming less and less important, and things like the image processing, the electronic image stabilization are having a bigger impact on the final result than the physical lenses. I remember even MKBHD made a video a couple months back talking about this very topic. And I fully expect this trend of the software, the computing power, massively changing the end product is only going to be increasing. I mean, the latest addition here is AI. Smartphone companies are beginning to use AI in producing better images from their camera. And you really just can't deny that smartphones produce amazing looking photos and videos in a wide variety of scenarios. You might still be able to capture a slightly better image with a mirrorless camera in perfect lighting conditions on a tripod, but in most situations when you want to just capture the shot and you don't control every variable in the environment, I would argue a smartphone is going to give you a better end result 100% of the time. But not everybody wants to use their smartphone for capturing video. And in this case, if you don't want to buy a second phone just for video production, something like the Pocket 3 is a great alternative. It's much closer to things like a smartphone, and it's also cheaper than a smartphone, as it should be considering this does have less overall capabilities. But in terms of the video functionality, it's right up there with the best smartphones. So the image sensor here is 1 inch in size, bigger than most smartphones out there, and the image processing, the software, gives you a fantastic final image. And of course, the Pocket 3 has a built-in, very small 3-axis gimbal, and this gives you physical image stabilization versus the electronic found in smartphones. Now, for my testing, I actually preferred the electronic image stabilization found in smartphones versus that of a physical gimbal, except for in one circumstance, and that's in low lighting. Smartphones with their electronic image stabilization are getting a lot more competent in low lighting, but right now a physical gimbal like the one found in the Pocket 3 is still going to give you a better final result for now. So the Pocket 3 is an excellent complement or replacement to a smartphone, and is much more modern, cheaper, and more versatile than an older mirrorless camera. And the final category here are action cameras, and these really excel in capturing FOV footage and more sporting activities like bike riding. Although it should be mentioned that increasingly smartphones can also do this application. They have, in many cases, a wide angle lens. And the past couple of years on the software side of things, they added an action camera mode. So smartphones can definitely do this activity, but for right now, considering action cameras are fairly cheap and they're in high risk situations, they still make sense to me. But I do expect this to change over the coming years as smartphones get that much better, and I would not be surprised if in a just a couple of years, action cameras are becoming legacy technology. So there you have it. That's my honest take on the state of the camera market in mid-2024. Smartphones just continue to get better, both in terms of their hardware and increasingly their software, which is really dominating the end product. They increasingly have the most features, the most updated software, best computing power, but for logistical reasons, if you don't want to use your phone to capture video, Pocket 3 is a great modern alternative here. If you want to capture sports, FOV footage, and action camera at the right price can make sense. And then finally, expensive mirrorless cameras. I would only really recommend this if you specifically want some kind of a shot that only one lens can give you. But I'll go ahead and leave my links for the top action camera and mirrorless camera in the description below the video. If you guys enjoyed, I appreciate a like, subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.